What is going on, guys? Today we are 7 weeks out from the Prairie Nightmare Backyard Ultra, and today we are testing out our hydration packs. My running vest is the Salomon Active Skin 4. This is what I used for my first ever 60-kilometer ultra marathon. Today I'm also testing out this brand new I just bought. This is the Nike Flex Stride double bottle belt. So we're going to be testing it out to see how I like it, see how it feels. Along the way we'll discuss why and when you would consider using either of these two options or even both. And we'll also discuss some pros and cons of each one. Let's go for a run. Alrighty, we are just about at a mile here, testing out the hydration pack today. Sort of three considerations that I make when I'm looking at a hydration pack. They're sort of all interrelated, but for the purposes of the video, I'll break it into three. And those three are accessibility, volume, and distance. Let's talk about them. Okay, so first up, accessibility. Accessibility really covers two considerations. One, how accessible the liquid is on your body. And two, how accessible refills are going to be along the trail. So as far as on your body, the consideration you need to think about is how easy is it going to be to get the liquid out as you're running. This belt right now I'm testing out today, I have to reach behind me mid-run to pull it out. And it can be a bit difficult to pull out, so I might have to shift it in front to be able to get it. Now, that can mess up my stride, that can mess up my rhythm, and so I need to consider that when I'm looking at getting something like this and I'm considering what sort of race it's for. If it's a slower race, that might not be a problem. You might be able to switch it around, all good. But if it's a faster paced race, you might not want to have to worry about that. You're also going to consider how it's bouncing and stuff like that. So for me right now, I like my vest better because the bottles are right here, and I can just reach down and grab a sip like that. It's not a problem. The second thing you're going to consider is how accessible refills are on the trail. If it's a long race and these small bottles might empty out pretty quickly, and then you're left with no hydration for the rest of that race or until you get to an aid station. My first ultra, the aid stations were about 10 kilometers apart. 15 earlier in the race, but then 10 kilometers later on. Even then, even with 10 kilometers, I ran out pretty quickly because as a race goes on, you're probably going to get slower. And so you need to consider that as well. I ran out of water around kilometer 43. And so for 7 slow, painful kilometers, I was without water. So a vest is better than a belt like this, because a belt like this, you're likely going to run out of water very quickly. For something like a Backyard Ultra, it might not be that big of a deal because I know, okay, in 20, 30, 40 minutes, I'm going to be back at the station. I'm going to be able to refill and then I'll be good to go. So those two considerations, accessing it on your body, where it is, how easy it is to access, but then also how accessible the aid station is for things like refilling. Let's head back to the house and talk about the next consideration. As you can see by now, accessibility considerations are directly tied to another consideration: the amount of volume that a pack can carry. Vests are larger and are designed to carry more to allow you to travel farther for longer. Belts are designed to carry an amount that is adequate for a smaller portion of time while being less bulky. A vest like this is designed to carry all of the stuff that you are going to require. An example of this is this long pocket on each side of the front. This is to carry your hydration bladder to fill with your electrolytes or your water or whatever other hydration you have with you. There are also 2 smaller pockets here right in the front that are accessible either from the top or from the side so that you can access them as you're running. This is designed for gels or any other sort of nutrition that you want to carry with you as you run. There's also a small little zippered pocket here. This is good for either other nutrition, or how I use it is a place to put my garbage. Flipping it over, this entire back side right here is also all a pocket. And in that, you can put either a large hydration bladder, or you can use it to pack extra gear, such as a change of clothes. a rain jacket, headlamps, toilet paper, whatever you think you might end up needing on the trail. There's also this long zippered pocket along the side, and this is just, yet again, another space for you to put that in. So we can see, if I go in through on the top, this is a separate area from this top one here. That is why a vest can be so beneficial for longer races, or even for hiking or other exploration activities where you may be out for long enough to run into the need for change of clothes or food. But there is an associated downside. That downside is the added weight. When you pack that vest full of all that stuff and you're carrying it, even a full vest doesn't feel that heavy. But when you're out there for hours and hours and hours, all of your back muscles are working to support that vest. Even if it's tied right, strapped tight, it's all good. When I ran my ultra marathon and it was 9 hours long, the next morning my back was so tight from all of that work that had been done. So that is another thing to consider, and is an area where a belt might come in handy. They are not designed to carry as much, and really we can see here we have room for 2 bottles, and then we have a pocket right here that's good for a handful of snacks, gels, electrolytes, maybe a spare pair of socks. It's not a lot of room, but it will also therefore be much lighter. It also sits on the hips, which means that it shouldn't cause too much problems of overworking muscles as it just sits on top. Having said that, let's fast forward to tomorrow's long run where we talk about the factor that ties all of these things together: distance. That third factor to consider is going to be distance. It doesn't take too much mental gymnastics to recognize that the farther the distance goes, the more stuff you're going to want to carry with you, most likely. So for me, longer distance, it's going to be the running vest. Shorter distance, it might be the belt or a handheld water bottle. It's important to note that the more you run and the more experience you get, your perception of distance changes. When I ran the Shoe Swap Ultra in 2022, I wore this vest and it was packed with all sorts of stuff because it was my first one and I wanted to make sure I was as prepared for anything as possible. The guy who won ran the race in like 5.5 hours, and all he carried with him was one handheld water bottle that he filled up at the aid stations. And that was it. For 60 kilometers, that's all he carried. But that's because he was super experienced and he knew what he was doing and he knew what he was capable of. So your perception of distance will change as well. The more you run, the more you do stuff like this. For this Backyard Ultra, after testing out the vest and testing out the belt, I think what I'll probably do is start out with the belt because the laps are slow and I can walk and refill. But then as things get harder, as we get further into the race, I'm probably going to switch over into the vest so that I can carry more nutrition, so I can snack on the way. That's the plan right now, at least. We'll see how that actually turns out on race day. Actually, something else I forgot to say earlier for the vest is that when it's really hot out and you fill up these water bottles right here with cold water, it transfers to your chest. It cools you down so nicely. So that's just another positive for the running vest. Alrighty, that will conclude the run and the video. If you're liking this kind of content, leave a comment below. Let me know. If you're not, if you'd rather see less informational stuff, more running, more training, more fitness, more challenges, let me know in the comments. You know, I want to document this journey, but I also want to make sure that it's enjoyable for you guys who are giving me your time, giving me your attention. So really grateful for the support so far. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.